So good morning and welcome to this week's Breakfast with Mike. And this week we're going to talk about income and how you can increase your income with listings. Now, I know you're sitting there going, yeah, I know, but there's no listings out there. And I'm going to say to you, well, first of all, I think that's kind of an illusion. If you do some research, one of the things you will find is that a very small percentage of all of the actual homes that are out in the country. So you can look at this by the country, you can look at it state by state, you can probably look at it city by city. If you look at the overall number of homes that are out there versus the number of homes that actually have sold, I haven't found one area where more than 10% of the actual homes available have sold. So when we talk about a listing shortage, it's not because people aren't trying. It's because we're not. There's a lot of people out there that have not sold their home in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, a lot of them. And we're not asking the right questions, obviously. Okay. And that's what we're going to cover today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 places where you can look for more listing opportunities. Because let's face it, if you start generating more listings, you'll start making more money. And, I don't know too many agents who got into the business thinking, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to get in real estate and go broke. I don't know many people that come in with that thought. And yet, more than 80% of the people who do get in, they don't get through 3 years. And there are all kinds of different studies as to why that is. I don't care why it is. I just know it is. And I think that's kind of a shame because there should be enough training out there to teach people. You can teach skill. You can't teach the right ethics. You can't teach the right attitude. That's got to come. But you can teach skill. And I don't think we're doing enough of it. So today, my goal is to be able to teach you 3 places that you can look for more listings to increase your own income. And I'm going to start with the old tried and true. Top producers have been telling us for more than 30 years that I've been in the business where their number one source of listings comes from. Now, you can talk to a lot of different people and they have a different name for it. Some people call it their sphere of influence. Some people call it a book of business. People that work with me, we call it the core because the core is at the center of every success. Okay. And your core people should not be this group of 500 people. Okay. Because your core people should be people you're talking to on a regular basis about a lot of things. You should know very much about what they like, what they don't like, what their hobbies are. You should know everything about them so you could carry a conversation with them at any time about things that they like. And those core people, and what I teach people is these are the people who, if you asked them to, they would wear a billboard for you that says, "My realtor is," with your name on it. Now, if you don't have people that'll wear that billboard, then you're not working hard enough. You're not looking for this hard enough because they're out there, okay? And you need to find them. Who are your core people? What would they do for you? Now, the thing about the core, and this is a mistake a lot of agents make, is they keep saying, well, none of my sphere want to move. And my answer is always the same. Good. You see, if somebody from my core moved, I have to replace them. I'm not looking for my core people to move. Oh, they'll call me when they're going to, but I'm not looking for that. Remember what I just said a couple of minutes ago. These are people that would wear a billboard for you saying, "This is my realtor." We're trying to tap into that. Who do your core people know that need to move? Those are the people we're looking for. Talk to your core people about who they know that might be thinking of making a move. Now, there's a lot of different ways to ask for it. Some people say just flat out ask for the referral. Please stop putting "I love referrals" on your business cards. My God, you look so desperate when you do that. Everybody knows you love referrals. Who doesn't? Show me the business card where it says "I hate referrals." That'd be something different. Be silly, but be different. I bet you most people wouldn't even notice. If you change the word "I love" to "I hate," I bet you they won't even notice. That's how bad that whole plan is. Talk to your core people. Ask them, who do you know who might be thinking about making a move? I've heard that. It was a program many years ago that I heard from a gentleman by the name of Mark Shear. And Mark did a whole program about this. And it was so impressive that it became part of the words that we used when I was working as a trainer with Floyd. Who do you know? Stop asking, do you know anybody? And ask, who do you know? Because when you say, who do you know? They can't just say no. They got to stop and think for a second. So that's number one. Number two, yeah, I know you've heard this one before too, so much so that I'm going to put them together. FSBOs and expireds are a very easy way to generate listings. And I'm going to talk about the easiest one, which to me is the one most agents don't talk about, okay? And that is the sale by owner. Because we know why the sale by owner is not using a realtor. They just don't want to pay the commission. It's that simple. So if I can learn how to overcome that, then I can start listing sale by owners. Well, how do you overcome commission? Well, demonstrate to them that by listing with you, they will net more money. Now, personally, I think there's three different types of sale by owners that are out there. There's the sale by owner that comes on the market like every spring and raises their price by 10%. They're like a FSBO for life. They're never looking to sell. I don't know why they come on the market, but you can use them for practice. You know, some of your techniques on them and just see how they react. The second FSBO is the one that just came on the market. Now, if they just came on the market, chances are you're not going to get them the first time. You're just not. But you can establish a relationship with the person who's either going to make the decision or the person who might be the prisoner in the house. You know who the prisoner is? The prisoner is the person who has to stay home, answer all the phone calls, be there for all the showings. They're the one that gets stood up when somebody doesn't show up. They're the one that when people call and talk to them, they just whine and whine and whine and whine. They're the prisoner. And then when their partner or spouse comes home and says, well, did you sell the house or what's for dinner? They want to smack them. Well, become friends with the prisoner because that's somebody who will join forces with you later. They'll be the one that will turn around and say, you know what? Maybe we should list it. But the third type of sale by owner is the one we should be going after. And that third one has been on the market for a little while and not been successful, obviously. Now, personally, I found Mondays to be one of the best days to call them because normally they did their open house on Sunday. They got all these people who said that, oh, yeah, I love it. I'm going to buy it. And then, I call them on Monday and they're all excited. Oh, no, we've got an offer. We got 2-3 offers coming in. And then by Thursday or Friday, when I follow up, find out they didn't get one. And now they start getting a little bit frustrated. And when that's happened a couple of times, then I need a way to get in. And that's all I need. I need a way to get in. And the easiest way for me to get in was to say, let me just ask you a quick question. If I could prove to you, and I mean prove beyond any doubt, that you would actually net more by listing it with me than you would if you tried to sell it yourself. If I could prove that to you, Would you give me a few minutes of your time? Because I only need 10 or 15 minutes. You see, everybody goes in there trying to say, I need an hour and a half, I need 2 hours for those listing presentation. And most people are just too busy to give us that much time. Talk to them about, give me 10 or 15 minutes. Because in 10 or 15 minutes, I can demonstrate to them what my program is. I can talk to them about how I network listings. We've talked in the past about how most agents just put it in MLS, put up a sign, take a bunch of pictures and then hope it's going to sell. That's not what I do. It's not what I teach. Most of you all know that. But how do we get that across to them? Give me 10 or 15 minutes. If I can't prove it to me, prove it to you. You can't list it on the phone. Get in the door. So with the sale by owner, that's what I'm looking for. Get me in the door. That's all. If I can prove to you beyond any doubt that I could help net you more money. Let's talk about expireds for a minute. The old school thinking on expireds was very simple. Find out if they still want to sell, if they still want to list. And knowing that the chances are that the reason it expired was overpriced. And that used to be true years ago. But in the market we're in right now, 2024 coming up into 2025, in this market, that doesn't necessarily turn out to be true. Because a lot of people will leave their home priced at a certain point because they can't find anything. There's nothing for them to move into. I've had students that have told me that they talked to people who expired who got multiple offers but couldn't accept it because they couldn't find a house. That never was true before. We would always hear, no, we didn't get any offers. Oh, well, I can kind of understand that. Let me show you how I can make that happen. That's the way we used to do things. That's changed right now. It's not unusual to hear an expired say they've had numerous offers, which tells you that the price wasn't really off, but they couldn't find anything. How can you help solve that? Well, I'm going to bring you back to what I said at the very beginning, that less than 10% of the actual homes that are out there sold in the last year. That means 90% didn't. 90% of the homes that are out there did not sell last year. That gives me a whole lot of people that I can reach out to that we're not reaching out to. See, most agents, and this is going to sound silly because it is silly, and when I tell you, you're just going to laugh. Well, you should. Because what do most people do when they're working with a buyer these days? We have all these software programs. So they say, give me your email, and I'm going to put your name on a list, and you're going to get all the latest listings every morning. It downloads, and based on your particulars, it's going to give you all the new listings. I got a surprise for some. They already have seen them because they're on Realtor.com, Zillow. They're on these systems more than you are. I remember the last time we moved, I swear to God, I thought my wife was just sitting in front of the computer again. She just kept hitting the refresh. Something new would come up. But that's what you're up against. That's what's happening out there right now. Those buyers don't need you for that information. If you're depending on Realtor.com or Zillow or whatever to find them a house, they don't need you for that. They need you for the 90% of the homes that don't go through Realtor.com, don't go through Zillow. Well, how do you find those? Well, that's a whole nother talk. But in a real short, simple way, when you start talking to these people, do you still want to move? You talk to an expired. Don't ask them if they want to list. Nobody wants to list. They do so by necessity. Do you still want to move? Well, we don't want to list. That's okay. It's not why I was calling. Reason I was calling was to find out if you had sold your home, Did you have a place to go? Be prepared. A lot of times they will say, we're still looking. There's nothing out there. Yeah, I thought that's what you might say. And that's true with a lot of people. But the way that I find homes for my clients is so different that I could guarantee you I will find your house. Now, if I found you the perfect house at a price point that you could that you could live with, would you still want to make the move? Well, how are you going to do that? I'll go through it all, but answer my question. Would you still want to move? If that's a yes, then my next goal is to set up that listing appointment. Now, they're going to try to get us to prove it to them, but I mean, the simple way is, listen, I do things that most people don't do. Number one, I network with some of the top listing agents in the area. I know what's coming from them before they even put it on the Realtor.com. Number two, I network with other buyer agents that are out there. Number three, if I have to, I'll go knock on every door in the area, but I'll find your house. I promise you. I'm not going to just sit around and wait. You don't need me for that. You can do that on your own. And they'll agree with you. Well, then let me show you how I do it. Let me set up an appointment. That's how we get into the door with the expired. Number three, and this is something that just too many people leave completely out because it's going to take a little bit of work on your part. But then again, they do call this a job. But if you want to generate more listings, you need to start looking at people who don't live in your area. I call them the out-of-state owners. And this is something I put together a program where I listed a lot of out-of-state owners. I reached out to them. I had a lot of people who I have never met and probably will never meet in my lifetime, and yet I sold their property. I had one turn. This guy called me up because I need your help selling my condo. I said, great, let me go take a look at it. I'll get you some ideas on how we can market it, and we'll go from there. He goes, oh, no, don't worry about that. My tenant's going to buy it. I was like, oh, okay. So did you guys already agree on a price or whatever? He goes, oh, yeah, that's all taken care of. And I gave him your number to call. He's going to call you and come into your office and write the offer. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's going to ask for me to do this cheap. But then again, he said, no, don't worry about it. He goes, I'm going to pay you full commission. I just need somebody there. I don't have anybody there. I need somebody there to look out for my best interest. The guy who was living there, called me up, came in, wrote the offer, no appraisal, no home inspection, closed on it, and I got both sides of the commission. I don't do that a lot, but I did in that situation. 2 years later, that guy called me up. He needed to sell it, move to another one. I got 3 deals out of that out-of-state guy. I'll never meet him. And I never had to do a thing. Out-of-state owners need somebody, and that somebody should be you. Now, I'm sure there are a lot more efficient ways than the way I did it. I went to the town halls in the local areas that I was in, and basically what I did was I looked at the tax records, and every time I saw where they were sending a tax bill someplace out of state, I knew I had an out-of-state owner. They owned property here in Connecticut where I live, but they lived somewhere else. And I just started sending them letters. And then I just put them on a list. You know, there are so many lists that are out there. I just put them on an email list where they were getting something from me. And sure enough, they started calling me. I saw somebody the other day. It actually was a friend of mine who has somebody in they were doing this program in a college, and come to find out they do this all the time. And I called the agent up and I said, I noticed somebody who I know, they were doing this whole thing in the college. Have you started talking to the people in the college about housing? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you got incoming freshmen, and you'll have some dads or moms that will sit there and they won't want to pay the college for room and board. They'll go buy a house and rent it out. And he went, wow, yeah. I said, have you done anything like that? No. Where do I get that list? Well, go down to the college, talk to the administration area. By the way, even the colleges around me, I did that. Yeah, they were not real receptive in the beginning. They became receptive, but they also ended up buying properties through me. They wanted to increase their own portfolio. They wanted to, of course, they're trying to get everything so that they can use everything around the college every time something would pop up. What about the seniors? You get the people who own them who are doing this right now. I'll guarantee you, if you have colleges around you, check this out because they're doing it. That they buy properties, they keep it 4 years, 5 years, and then they sell it. Out-of-state owners. It is a vastly undervalued source of income. We're just not doing it. We're not taking. Don't complain about inventory if you're not doing anything to go get it. So there's 3 ways. Number one, start talking to the people who you know that would carry a billboard for you and ask them, who do you know that might be thinking about moving? Number 2 is the FSBOs and expireds, and I gave you some quick words on how to handle both of them. FSBOs, we just got to overcome one thing: money. They don't want to pay you. Once you can prove that you can net them more money, they'll list. And if they don't, they're one of those FSBOs for life, and don't worry about them. Just practice on them. Expired, stop asking people if they want to list. Nobody wants to list. Ask them if they still want to move. If we found them a property, would they still want to move? When you get a yes to that, then demonstrate to them how you find properties that are different than most other agents, and you'll start walking away with those leads as well. And then number 3, out-of-state owners. So there's 3 sources of business that you can use that would increase your income without really increasing a lot of effort. This market is shifting, and it will continue to shift. Why? Because it always has, and it always will. It's always going up or down. And if you're not going with it, well, then you're going to lose out. In the last 3 or 4 years, if you haven't been making the most amount of money you've ever made in real estate, then you've been missing out on opportunities because they've been there. And my advice to you is find somebody that can help you to find these opportunities, because otherwise you're going to be one of those statistics, the people that don't make it. And I don't want to see that for anybody. I'm going to turn the recording off, let these guys throw some questions at me. Wish you were here. Maybe it will be next time. Bye for now.